Sometimes that is better.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the KillJoy Jake podcast. I am joined here today with Mr. Jacob Browning. How's it going?
Great. Glad to be back. Excited
Hell
to talk
yeah.
about some Pumpkinhead.
Dude, yes, we are. We're going to talk about some Pumpkinhead, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend, creature myth legend, I guess. I love this first movie so much. Like, it is one of my favorite weird creature features. It's directed by Stan Winston. It's got a lot going for it. Jacob, what do you like so much about Pumpkinhead?
My favorite thing about Pumpkinhead is, of course, the creature of Pumpkinhead. I love the practical effects, the story they chose to tell with him, and how he evolves with the film, too. Like, the effects on him, just seeing him change throughout the film, becoming more human-like, and seeing him just going crazy, killing people, him in movement. I
Yeah.
could maybe do without all the strobe lights, but
It's a little much.
but it definitely showcases how menacing this character is and what he could do. And that's probably the best part of this film for a creature feature. That's what I want to be, is this character. Pumpkinhead feels like he's a real threat, and that's what you need in creature features.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a simple tale. It's a, kind of just a revenge movie at the end of the day, but it's done so well. I love the creature designs. I love the characters. Lance Henriksen is a great lead in this movie. Really, the whole cast, I think, is really compelling. The teenagers are kind of just standard horror movie characters, but Lance Henriksen, I think, really elevates this one.
Yeah, Lance, when I saw him in the film, at first I was a little worried seeing him just playing this country character, and I thought he was just going to be angry faced this whole time. But then seeing him as he slowly start to deal with more with his grief and the more like being like going against his morals with Pumpkinhead and having that growing to that final fight against him and Pumpkinhead in a way at the end,
Yeah.
I thought it was very good, and he showed it very well throughout the film. I loved his performance.
Absolutely. I think that's what sets this one aside from other movies similar to it, is not only the writing, the performance from Lance Henriksen, but I love that he's so hell-bent on like getting revenge at first, and then like, yeah, you see that moral dilemma in him. You see him going back and forth like, I don't know, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. And I don't know. It's just so well written. It could have just been one thing, just Pumpkinhead killing all these teenagers. That's what the ending could have been. It could have just been that, and it's so much more.
Yes, I love how they do that, and they set up a whole world, a story, a mythos for this character. They didn't know there was going to be a sequel or multiple sequels, but they set up that there's more than one spirit. The Haggis, the witch, says there's different, and that he's just one. He is the formation of revenge. I love how they say that like the next person becomes Pumpkinhead in a way,
Yeah.
and it's just all really gripping and setting up for a future in this world that clearly could have not had a future. They didn't know what they were going to do, and it's very cool and seeing. And I love how like rich it is in mythos.
Yeah, and with that revenge commentary, like, once again, this could have just been a creature feature at the end of the day. Like, with a really cool design, we would have taken that. Cool, whatever. But it's memorable because of that commentary. It's like, do you get revenge on something that was, this awful thing that happened, or do you make peace with it? And I think that's kind of what a lot of this movie is trying to say. I love that. I'm like, okay, there's something compelling, not only in the visual department, but also on top of like the thinking man's story. There's a lot of great things this one has to offer.
And I like, especially with even the teens, like I like seeing the dilemmas between all the characters. They all took the tragedy. Every character in the film took the tragedy a different way.
Yeah, like the one guy's cutting the phone lines and stuff. He's like, I can't have anything else on my record.
Yeah, his friend's trying to calm him down. His brother is trying to calm him down, make him see reason. He locked two other people in a room who are trying to do their best they can to save, like, get this kid some help in any way possible, or at least come clean to it. And
Yeah.
then they have the one girl that's just freaking out on the couch. And then you have his girlfriend who's just trying to help him out the whole time. So they all have their own dilemmas, their own personalities that is very well set at the beginning throughout the film. And as they get picked off one by one, it's in their own unique ways, and you feel bad for them. I felt bad for each of the characters. They definitely made a way for me to feel bad about all of them. Even the guy who was kind of being an asshole throughout all of this. He was, by the time you see him, he's like, all I am is just a mess up. I'm nothing. And then he starts slowly like winning me over and becoming I thought one of the more compelling characters of the film.
Yeah, and it's so human for that reason. You know, I see so many movies nowadays where it's like, here's this character who is either just not affected by trauma at all, or a character who's just purely evil. You don't see like the other side of it. If that something like that happened, you know, if like you accidentally ran over a kid with your bike and all that, that's horrible, that's awful. But there is a part of you that might react that way and be like, okay, we got to get the hell out of here. You know, like it's a fight or flight response thing. That's very human. But then also seeing that other side of it later on in the film, it's so important. It's so important to making you care about this and just giving you a tragic ending like how this one does so well.
Yes, it definitely, like at the end, I felt like it definitely was like made me just sit down and like, huh, this is different. This made me think more than a normal slasher creature feature normally would. Everything it was trying to tackle, grief, revenge, and then just understanding each of these characters in a way. It was very genuine, and I love it for that.
And although it has goofy moments, you know, I feel like there's some character moments, especially early on, that like are a little silly. There's some like moments of dialogue where I'm like, that I don't know if that was necessary or not. It still manages to do all of these things where I'm like, I'm so compelled by this. Like, this is so interesting. This could have just been a low budget creature feature with not much else to say, but it has a strong message at its core, identified by all of its characters. I love that. I love shit like that when you can elevate something like a schlocky B movie to this hardcore commentary on revenge and dealing with tragedy. It's great.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite kill at all throughout this film?
if I said the little boy, would that just be upsetting? I just that's
Yeah.
so it's upsetting to me. It's like it's such a shocking way to start this creature feature that you're just not expecting. You know, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying I completely agree about that. It shocked me honestly at the beginning. Just like, especially like how like good the performance the kid was. I was like, this, because I went into this movie completely blind my first time, and seeing that took me back. I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected at all from what I saw on the cover.
I was expecting them to go to like a cabin in the woods or something, and then this creature starts stalking them, whatever. And it's like, whoa, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, damn. So I don't know. It really took me by surprise. It's one of the most like shocking moments I feel like of the whole film, and that's special in my eyes.
Especially for the time too. It's like you don't normally be seeing kids being killed off in horror films, like especially in the 80s. They tried to stay away from that, or if they did, they definitely cut away a lot more, but they just let it lingers on him. And
Yeah,
it just makes
it focuses on that plot point for a while, and you know, this is the late 80s. This is 1988. We're in post like Chucky, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like things are really silly around this time period of horror, and for them to do something so dark like this, it almost feels like kind of like just a counterculture move to do during this time. And I love that. It makes it such a bigger standout than if it would have came out at any other time period.
exactly. I think it's just something that's so unique for its time, and it definitely has those silly moments. My favorite kill is the one with the gun, where
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead grabs the gun and shoves it through the bully.
Yeah.
I just was like, I like the silliness, and that just won me over a lot. It's great practical effects and just in a bizarre scene that I loved.
But I love that this film can balance that. You know, it can balance the silliness and the darkness, like 50-50 kind of in a lot of ways. And I look at something like Hellraiser that came out the year prior, which also kind of does that. Like it is a very dark and serious film that deals with like heavy themes, but at the same time, you know, the pinhead, like all the Cenobites or whatever surrounding like Kirsty and stuff. And they're like, you know, oh, you're coming with us to hell, Kirsty. You know, it's a little absurd and ridiculous at its core. But at the same time, it still manages to be scary and dark. And I love those two flavors coming together and mixing.
Exactly. And that's like, it just shows. And I think the whole crew was so passionate about this. Like they did whatever they could to make this movie happen. They would make anything. Stan Winston and his crew just to make Pumpkinhead. And they did it so well. It like, you don't even tell, like when I watched it, I thought this had a budget of like a Child's Play movie.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had a low budget. Like they definitely, because like they like I normally they just use what they can with their budget to their best. They are not afraid to show the monster. They do all these things and to make it feel like this is not a cheap movie. This is good. Stands to be up there with all the other horror icons.
Yeah, yeah, and even today, I feel like the film is very underrated and maybe not seen in that same light, which I feel like is a shame because this is a hidden gem, maybe the definition of the term.
Yes, I'll definitely still stick with Ghoulies 3 as being the ultimate hidden gem, but I definitely agree with you on the Pumpkinhead being very underrated and a hidden gem. I think it's its sequel's faults that it did not grow to the icon status that it truly deserves.
So tell me about Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings because I have not had the pleasure of being able to watch this one yet.
Well, this one is about Pumpkinhead's kid.
Okay. Okay.
Him and the witch have a kid together named Tommy, who's this deformed kid in the 50s who gets beat up by a bunch of greasers. And so then it goes back to modern day in the 90s, and it's more about all the adults who were the greasers now having successful careers, and the witch trying to bring back her son in the form of Pumpkinhead to get revenge on the people that killed her son. But there there's a few different problems without the film because they kill the witch and the teens summon Tommy Pumpkinhead instead, and Pumpkinhead's going after him, all the people that wronged him, and then he's going after the teens who end up accidentally killing the witch.
So, like, to me, it just sounds like they lose a lot of the commentary elements of that first movie. It kind of just feels like this is just revenge flick at its core and not much else.
Yes, it's very much just a very poorly done revenge flick. I think there are some actors in there that I thought did pretty good. Punky Brewster is in it.
Ooh, okay, okay.
And she's one of the teens, and she's pretty fun to watch. But most of the other teens in the film are just very unlikable. They killed the witch on accident, and they pretend like nothing happened. And then, like, it just feels like they don't, they're just awful people. The one good character is the sheriff, and he was actually he played Larry Cotton in Hellraiser. And
Oh, nice.
he was also, I think, the barber in Child's Play 3.
Nice.
So he did really good. I liked him a lot, but it just felt very convoluted. They didn't understand the mythos. They set up Pumpkinhead somehow having a kid instead of going with the person from the previous film becoming Pumpkinhead, being awoken for revenge. It just the strobe lights are a lot. It's called Blood Wings, but he doesn't get any wings.
So that subtitle has no meaning.
It has a meaning in a way that he like leaves this like triangular V, and like it in blood, and they call it Blood Wings.
That's disappointing though, because I want to see wings covered in blood flapping away or something. Like he evolves into a different form or something, you know?
Exactly. It would be a good way to elevate what came before it. But it just felt like through the good, like fun performances, like from few actors, they just didn't understand the character. And then at the end, they end up killing Pumpkinhead with bullets. And that was a very explicit rule in the first film. He can't be killed by bullets. You have to kill the person that summoned him.
Right. Yeah. What? You're already breaking rules in the sequel? Come on.
And then every film after that breaks more rules. 3 and 4. But like there are some good things. Like I said, the cast do really good. They do show Pumpkinhead. Albeit they show a lot less of Pumpkinhead than they did in the first one, but they did have a lower budget. This one was going direct to video in the 90s, and their goal was just to make a schlocky B movie, and they succeeded at that. But they just didn't understand the characters. I wish Lance Henriksen was back in this one instead of 3 and 4 because I think it would have elevated it.
Yeah.
And another thing I do have to praise about this film is the gore. The gore effects in this are good. I do like the kills. They're a lot of fun. They there's like a few beheadings, limbs getting ripped off, so not afraid to. It originally was gonna have an NC-17, but they had to cut content to give
Oh,
it
okay.
the R. But honestly, it's more of just like a 5 out of 10 film. It's not worth much time, I think. A lot better than the ones that come after it, though.
Yeah, you were telling me about those sci-fi original movies. You know, those are pretty notorious around the horror genre.
Yes, and I'm one to say there have been a few sci-fi films that have proven to me that sci-fi can make a good film. I think their Slumber Party Massacre film is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then seeing Blood Feud and Ashes to Ashes, they just like they have interesting concepts, both of them. The Ashes to Ashes is a um, more of a film about like a doctor played by Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself.
Nice.
He's a Southern doctor who helps the whole town for free, but as payment, he sells the body parts of the dead victims he has. And then when people find out about this, they dig up the body of Lance Henriksen to summon Pumpkinhead with the help of the witch to go after the doctor.
Okay. Okay.
And it's Lance Henriksen comes in like spirit visions throughout the film, and he just looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Doug Bradley is hamming it up way too much as a Southern Doctor, and they just didn't know how to use his character. They seemed like they tried to one good thing they did was go back to more the Southern
Yeah.
aspect of the first film, which I really enjoyed. But you can go. Sorry.
I know. I was just gonna say what's really interesting about that to me is like I remember seeing Doug Bradley in other things besides Hellraiser, and it just always feels like it feels like he was born to play Pinhead. But anytime you see him in anything else, I just always feel like he kind of suffers, which is kind of hilarious that I use that word for because he plays Pinhead. But I think about like Wrong Turn 5, which he's in, and that movie is just not very good in my opinion, and he's just too mean. I also feel like the script lends itself to being just too harsh to its characters to the point where it's just like it's just like way too much. Like you're being way too dark for like absolutely no reason. I need a good reason to be punishing characters. If it's because they're like super nice and you want the audience to feel bad, or vice versa, maybe they're just awful characters who kind of deserve it. I just feel like there was no direction for the deeply dark things that happened to everyone in that movie, and he's kind of the perpetrator of that. This feels like a very similar situation.
It's just like seeing him in this role, like that made me feel like why would he be doing something like this, like and like hamming it up? Because the best thing I thought about him as Hellraiser was he kind of brought it back. He was very relaxed, and he was calm in a scary way. It made him more menacing, and I thought that would have been perfect for this character if they let him bring it to this doctor character. It would have made me feel more like, okay, this guy is more menacing. Let's get rid of this guy.
Right, right.
But then it just ends up like becoming like a very bad B movie throughout the film. They use practical effects, but the Pumpkinhead look is just gone. It looks more like a xenomorph than ever. And then there's even moments where they decide to go CGI, and a sci-fi movie is not going to give Pumpkinhead the budget to do a good CGI scene.
Why do so many filmmakers look at these like wonderful practical effect movies and decide, hey, let's make a continuation to that with CGI? Like, why is that even something that's being considered? I don't understand when shit like that happens.
Yeah, and it's so bad. It looks like he's coming out of Roblox, honestly.
Roblox Pumpkinhead. Oh God.
Yeah, it's so bad. The special effects are awful. Some of the gore effects are very bad because they're CGI at moments. When they try to do more practical, the gore is okay, but then it seems like a balance of trying to do both, and it just doesn't work out at all. It makes me feel so bad that this film has a Pumpkinhead name.
Yeah. No, I
And
understand.
then bringing back Lance Henriksen, it just seems so disrespectful to the series to have him in it, and then have him have these spirit visions, and just he doesn't want to be there. You can see it on his face. He's just not happy with the role he's given. He knows this isn't what Pumpkinhead is, but he's just there for the paycheck.
That's always upsetting, man. It's like if you don't need to make a sequel, don't tarnish something that doesn't need a continuation. The other thing too is like they made these back to back, like Ashes to Ashes and Blood Feud 2006, 2007. So like they were probably filming these like around the same time.
They were. I did do research and found out they were filming them at the same time. Yet their plots are so different. Like, it doesn't really make. I was like, how? Like, the only thing they have continuing is the Pumpkinhead character and the character of Ed Harley. And that was Lance Henriksen, and he doesn't even need to be there in the fourth one. The fourth one is a Romeo and Juliet type film. It's literally, there's two feuding families in this town. I don't know what time period it is. It seems like at sometimes it's the 50s, at times it's the 90s, at 80s, early 2000s. It doesn't know, like, because they're all dressing differently throughout the film. But it's these two rival families and these two kids who fall in love. And then one of them dies and they decide to get revenge by Pumpkinhead. So it's Romeo and Juliet by Pumpkinhead.
They were running out of ideas, I think, at this point, huh?
Yeah, it was weird seeing it, and I was like, why are they doing this? And Lance Henriksen doesn't need to be there. Like, it doesn't explain, because they just summon a random body. It's not Lance Henriksen's Pumpkinhead. It's just a random one, and he's just there in spirit form. And at one time, it looked so bad, just as bad as it was when you saw that little spirit thing in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh man. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I agree that, but like, yeah, it was just so bad they did it like that. And I was like, oh no, this is not what Pumpkinhead is at all. Like, it just, and the budget, they still did CGI scenes, though I will say they did less, and it made me happier. But the special effects are bad.
Is there any practical in this one?
There is practical, but it's not. It's about the same amount as the third one, and it doesn't look as good. It looks very cheap. The Pumpkinhead looks like a guy going to a Comic-Con dressed like Pumpkinhead.
Oh, that is so rough, man. Is there any excitement? I mean, considering some of these sequels and their levels of quality, is there any excitement for this upcoming Pumpkinhead project that's been announced?
I'm very excited because there's so much they can do with the character, because throughout all four films, we've never seen what happens if Pumpkinhead actually wins. What happens if he finishes off everyone that he was meant to finish off? We never seen that. They mentioned there are multiple different demons that can be summoned. I would love to see that explored in a sequel.
Yeah.
And as long as they realize they need to stick with the practical effects, and I'm glad to see practical effects are making a boom again with Terrifier and even the Chucky show doing practical effects.
Yeah.
So it shows that a big franchise that went to CGI can come back and do practical effects and it be amazing.
Now, I'm assuming here, but it feels like to me that Pumpkinhead is in need of a requel maybe more than any other franchise, where we kind of just forget about the other sequels. Let's just do a direct continuation to the original.
I think it would be perfect. I would like to see it maybe focus on some of those kids in the town, Bunt and the other kids. It'd be great because Bunt actually does make an appearance in the third film.
It's shit!
Bunt. I forgot to mention that, but he is such a nothing character, and he gets killed off at the beginning.
They could do so much with that, though.
Exactly. That's why I was like, if I wanted to, I could make a better sequel to this. Just give it to me.
Right, man. Oh God. Because I think about where that first one leaves off, and I just feel like it's a perfect. I don't feel this way about every original, but Pumpkinhead, that first movie, feels like it's the start of a long franchise where it's like we're gonna keep going back, and he's gonna keep more Pumpkinheads are coming, more creatures, more creature designs could be held up in other films. I just don't know why they never even attempted to do something like that, opposed to what they ended up doing.
Exactly. It's interesting seeing this and then being like, how did the Phantasm get more films than Pumpkinhead? Like, Phantasm is just such a under the radar flick, and it has 5 films, one more. Like, and just all these franchises that go on for so long. The Piranha series has like 5 films. How?
I love all of the Piranha movies though. I'm gonna I don't know, maybe that's a hot take, but like all of them, any of them I'll watch any day of the week, even the made for TV one.
I was about to say the made for TV one that came out in the 90s, I believe, and the sequel to the modern one with David Hasselhoff. I am not fans of.
It's so dumb. I think that's why I love it. It's
But
just
I do
dumb
like
nonsense.
I do like Piranha 3D, the first one of the remakes. I do think that's a lot of fun, and I liked the first 2 Piranha films, mostly because James Cameron.
Yes, I was just gonna say James Cameron directs the sequel to the original, and it's so funny. Like it is laugh out loud funny the whole time.
I completely agree. That is more my type of film, and I wish. But like it's the same thing though. These are so under the radar. But Pumpkinhead, I feel like Pumpkinhead should have been a big hit from the beginning. It was terrifying. The creature design, I think it's scarier than most creature designs they've had. Like, I mean, like Alien, I think he's creepier than Alien, just with all the facial, especially at the end when he's becoming more human-like and he's like smiling at Ed,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is terrifying.
Well, and like going back to, the criticisms of this franchise, like, yes, does it look a little bit like a xenomorph? Sure. But it's a completely different monster in terms of mythos, in terms of look. Like, the only similarity, in my opinion, is like the shoulders and the elongated head. Besides that, that's where the xenomorph similarities stop.
Exactly. It makes this one seem more, I guess, alive than an alien. Like it has more of a personality than the aliens. Aliens are more mindless creatures, while
Just
Pumpkinhead,
killing machines, Yeah.
yeah, and while Pumpkinhead is like this thoughtful person, like he plans out things.
Right. Yeah, and you see that in the first movie. Like it's great. I love that. I love how much personality there is not only in like our main characters but the monster itself. It's like this is this thing that is going to enact revenge upon, whatever its fucking host is. And I love that. It's such a great concept for a creature.
Exactly. And I just wish he got more of the love. Like I do blame the sequels and every attempt they tried to get into a different media did not fail. It had a comic book that had 2 issues released and then it was canceled. Even though people loved the comic, I've checked out the first issue. I thought it was really good. It was actually exploring what I wanted it to. It was a sequel to the first one and exploring the different demons that the lady was talking about. And it gave Pumpkinhead wings.
Oh my God, everything I want. We finally get to see the goddamn blood wings.
Exactly. That's why I was like, we finally got what we wanted, all in 2 issues of a canceled comic book. They even have a video game that was made in the 90s, I believe, with the sequel film. And it got awful reviews. But it was pretty much Doom, but worse controls.
Oh, I gotta play it though.
I haven't found a way to play it, but I want to so bad because it just I have to see this game. But it looks like Doom, the original Doom.
It looks like okay, so is it kind of like a first-person shooter like that, or no?
It's a first-person shooter like Doom, and as you go throughout the game, you unlock clips from Pumpkinhead 2.
What? So,
and you're just
that's so weird.
Yeah, you can look up clips online. It's like insane. Like I was blown away by how bad it looked.
I feel like there's an easy way to make that into a video game too. Like just play as like one of the, well, I guess, back in the 90s, it's a different story. But like today, if they were to make a video game about it, like I would just do like you're a guy on Like it's a story-based game. You're just someone who has to hire Pumpkinhead, or maybe even you're just like one of the fucking characters running away from Pumpkinhead, like it's Dead by Daylight or something.
I would, yeah, like that, or even give it like an Until Dawn or The Quarry type of thing where you have your decisions choose if the people live or die, if who's getting blamed for the revenge, who like from the beginning you can be setting up this like I think that would be cool.
Because
There's
that's
ways to
so
do it.
embedded in the first movie. You know what I mean? It's like the whole the question of morality thing that would work perfectly with like an Until Dawn or the Quarry based kind of game like that. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, like that's why like there's so many horror games I wish they would make based off these horror icons. Scream is another one I just wish would happen. I want it to be like Among Us mixed with Dead by Daylight. That's all I want.
Yes. 100%. Oh my god, yes. Like Woodsboro at night as your setting. You could do like all the settings from the movies and just have
Exactly.
Ghostface going after people. You're trying to figure out who it is too. It's like one person randomly gets selected, you don't know who it is. That would be awesome.
But for Pumpkinhead, they just don't really have that love, and nothing's wanting to bring it back. Nothing's brought it back since 2007, I believe, and it's kind of sad because this is a character that, like, I mean, I know they've talked about remakes, but last time we heard about the remake was 2021,
Yeah.
and the writer's strike. We don't know what's going to happen now with Pumpkinhead.
What I will say, considering the writer strike, actor strike, all that going on, is the moment it's over, I guarantee you, like maybe a couple weeks, a month later, whatever, we're gonna get the announcement of all these weird horror movies, and a lot of them I feel like are gonna be continuations to like older, maybe more underground franchises that studios can make on like a cheaper budget. Because like right now it's been over 120 days since like anybody's really worked on projects. Like they once
Yeah.
everything comes to everything gets finished off with the strike, and they finally are like, okay, here's a good agreement that we can finally all agree on. They're gonna just start announcing projects left and right. This I hope is one of them. Like, okay, yeah, we're continuing work on this. We're gonna make it happen for 2024 or 2025 or something.
Yes, I mean, I would hope to. I would love to see a new Pumpkinhead, a new Wishmaster.
Yes. Oh, that would be awesome.
I would be love to see these films because those are the ones I gravitate towards. Getting a new Slumber. I would love to see a sequel to Slumber Party Massacre. Like again, I love seeing films like that. Sleepaway Camp. All these sequels I have so much love for, but they just get buried underneath the icons of
And like
horror.
I love Scream, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, but like there's some weirder ones that deserve more attention like this. And it would be cool to get like a big box office release of something like a new Pumpkinhead movie, Like that would be awesome. That would be great. We're getting a new Exorcist film this year that like no one asked for.
Yeah, I'm not excited at all for the new Exorcist film.
But what about like Pumpkinhead? Fucking we finally got a new Hellraiser last year that was actually good. Like there's so many franchise continuations we could be doing right now, but we're just looking at the biggest hitters opposed to some of the more underrated ones like this.
Yes, and I just hope that Hollywood understands. Like I'm hoping like maybe even television. I hope Chucky people start looking at Chucky for inspiration because I think the Chucky show is phenomenal. It is a great way to handle a low budget practical effects show but that has so much heart and love in it.
The one thing I will say about the Chucky show is the kills are fantastic. Like I'm never disappointed in that department. So if they can match that in movies and more TV shows, I 100% agree.
And I think it would be there would be so many different things I would love to see like a Pumpkinhead, if any form of Pumpkinhead in anything.
And
Added to
maybe
Dead
more
by Daylight.
creatures. Oh,
Exactly.
Adam yes. Oh, that'd be sick. Sorry.
Yes, but like, there's so much stuff that I wish they would do with all these characters from the '80s, because the '80s has such a like hidden gems everywhere. I just watched The Burning a few nights ago. Phenomenal film.
Yeah, very underrated slasher, man. It's kind of gross when you find out who made it, but besides that, it's got some good moments. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think there's a lot of, and then nowadays it just seems like they don't. If it's a newer franchise, like an older franchise, they just don't care, like they did with Pumpkinhead or Jeepers Creepers. Jeepers Creepers 4 was the worst film I've seen in a long time, and if Letterboxd would have let me give it a 0, I would.
Yeah, you have to give everything at least a half a star, which is a shame. Some of them don't deserve it, like that movie. But that's a shame, right? They threw this like franchise I feel like that has a lot of potential at a nobody director who has not made a successful film. Why? Like why would they do that when this franchise is beloved by a lot of fans? Throw it at somebody who's competent. Like do the same thing with Pumpkinhead. Don't do this like find just a nobody to make some kind of continuation to make money. Make something good and then you can keep making these and keep making more money. That's what no one wants to do. No one wants to invest in these smaller franchises.
And I'm kind of excited to see how Toxic Avenger does, because that's like the epitome of like a bizarre horror franchise that's getting a big budget film with an amazing cast.
Yes, dude. Peter Dinklage. Who else? Is it like Daniel Radcliffe is in that? No, it's not Daniel Radcliffe.
It's the guy. Lord of the Rings.
Yes, yeah. I get those two mixed up in my head. Elijah Wood is
Elijah Wood. Yes.
Yes.
And it looks like, I mean, the first image made me, I was like, yep, this will be all right.
I'm excited for it, man. I love that first Toxic Avenger. Like, it's crazy.
Yes, and that's why I think I'm so excited to see, because if that does well, then maybe I will get what I want with all these franchises to come back.
I mean, listen, man, if we can get a prequel to Orphan that gets reviewed really well and surprisingly makes money, this can happen too. You know what I mean? Like, I think about like that one-off movie from 2009 and people were like so hyped, excuse me, for like a prequel, sequel, whatever. And they're like announcing more of them. Like there's going to be more Orphan films. The fact that that's becoming a franchise, come on. We got to get a good Pumpkinhead movie.
The Strangers is another one. I'm very excited to see The Strangers, because Pray at Night is a phenomenal film in my opinion.
And some fans even like that one more than the original. I'm like, dude, in my opinion, they are neck and neck. I can't even argue with that. They're both so good for completely different reasons.
I think it was also the first slasher to make me jump ever.
Oh, nice.
I think it was the only time. I don't get scared much in movies, but I think when she came, like when they were hiding and then that girl just would pop out of nowhere, just would scare me.
Yeah, and she was just like in the tunnel thing or whatever. I can't even remember. Were they in like a pipe or something?
Yeah, they were in a pipe and her head popped out of nowhere. And I was like, nope. But there's so much they could do for these franchises. I think Pumpkinhead is a prime start. I think people nowadays are more ready than ever. If people are going out theaters to see Slaughterhouse, Pumpkinhead could be up there.
And like I look at there was a studio recently, and I can't remember which one, that announced they're like, well, we're just focusing on franchise continuations because that's the only thing that makes money. And when a studio says that, they're talking about franchise continuations to big hitters. But like, look at fucking Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, dude. That was like, it was awful. That was an awful movie, and it made like $2.5 million or something at the box office just because it's a Winnie the Pooh horror movie. People want to see these weirder horror flicks in theaters. I mean, Terrifier 2 is going back to theaters after making $11 million in a month off of a $250,000 budget. Like, that's insane, man. Bring more of these franchises back. Stop making like 100 fucking like movies and all these big franchises, and just try to focus on one good one from all of the franchises, underrated or not.
Yeah, are you gonna be seeing Terrifier when it comes back?
You fucking know it, man.
I was about to say I can't miss it. Like once I realized he was going to be releasing maybe a trailer for Terrifier 3 at the end, because he teased something at the end. He's like, so you guys want to be here for this? I was like, if I could see a trailer for Terrifier 3, I'm in. And
I hope it's like, a trailer.
I really hope, because I think it's already finished, or he already has it mostly like set up, it seems like. And I was like, I need to see this shit. Like, Terrifier 3 now.
The fact that they already have a release date for like October 2024 is so exciting too. It's like, oh my God, they're getting a move on this like pretty quick. And I'm sure, Damien has an idea for it. Like considering the ending of Terrifier 2, it's like he has a clear vision as to where it's going to go next. They've talked multiple times in interviews about how like, oh, we already have ideas for Terrifier 3 and we might even do a Terrifier 4. Like that's so exciting to me. I can't wait to see what they're going to do now with like somewhere between 1 million and like $5 million for the budget on this one.
And it just makes me so happy to see a low budget film like that just be able to make so much money in theaters.
Right, and just pop off, man.
Exactly. I mean, Slaughterhouse was in theaters and it was packed.
Was
Oh
that
my!
good? I've heard so many things about it.
I haven't seen it yet. I was going to, but like I said, the theater was packed. So I was not able to get a seat, and I was not going to sit in the front row to see Slaughterhouse.
That's totally fair.
I'm more excited about The Nun 2.
I'm
That's my.
excited for the Nun too. Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm not excited for the if it's going to be good. I'm just excited. It means I'm closer to Conjuring 4.
That's fair. I mean, that they did announce that earlier in the year. I'm excited for it. I think the big thing I want to see from the Nun 2 is just a better story because like we have a Kella Cooper writing it. She's done things like Malignant, Hellfest, Megan from earlier this year. I really feel like this is going to be an improvement over the first one, and that's all I'm looking for from the Conjuring franchise. Just somewhat
Yes.
of an uptick, opposed to how like every movie I feel like has just gotten a little worse than the last recently.
I definitely have seen that in the content. I mean, there are some things like I will defend Annabelle Comes Home. I love Annabelle Comes Home.
I do too, man. I hate that I like it, but it's like kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun for no reason. And I did like Conjuring 3 a lot. Mostly because I'm so invested in this story, the Warren family.
It was
So,
great to see Ed and Lorraine again. You know what I mean? Like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are so good as those characters. Even in a subpar story compared to like Conjuring 1 and 2, I still found myself rooting for them. I was like, okay,
yeah.
this is still more fun than I'm trying to think like what was Annabelle Comes Home the one that came out before that? Holy crap.
That was Creation. Or, no.
I'm talking like just like
Oh,
timeline wise.
yes, it was Annabelle Comes Home. But it doesn't make sense. But yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm just like, especially because I don't know if things are connected to the universe anymore or not. Because I thought Curse of La Llorona was, but apparently it's not.
Even though it features a character from Annabelle, but don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah, it just made. I'm like, okay, but it. I've just liked the franchise a lot. It's unique and everything like I want from a paranormal franchise. I think the reason I'll keep coming back to see a Conjuring movie. Though, which one's your favorite of the Conjuring films?
Probably Creation. Like Creation's great. I really Annabelle Creation I feel like is just like the scariest one. I feel like it's got a great story. I love both of the like the actual Conjuring movies though, like Conjuring 1 and 2. Both great, but I don't know why Annabelle Creation is one that I gravitate towards.
That's fair. Mine actually Creation's my number two.
Hell yeah.
I love Conjuring 2 though so much.
It's
I
great.
think it has everything I liked about the first one, the scares, the characters, but it has added more heart, I felt like to the characters. It made me care about like I was like, okay, the Wardens are good at what they're doing. Why should I care about them? And the second one gave me that.
I feel like I like the family in 2 more than I like the family in 1. 2, I think that's another big improvement over the first movie. Not that the family in 1 is bad. I don't know. Like I kind of agree with you. I feel like there's more heart centered around that specific group versus the one in the first movie.
And that scare with the little kid and the crooked man, just great.
Oh, dude, that's brutal. And I also love that Valak, this is the first time we've seen that this entity in this movie specifically. I don't know, something about Bonnie Aarons in that costume is so fucking scary to me. And unfortunately the first Nun, I'm just not crazy about at all. Like I just don't think
I'm
the story was there. But the scares are like not bad. Whatever.
good. They were all right, and the best part was when it connected to the Conjuring universe. And I hated that I had to say that, but like it's just like I was so excited for it, and then I watched it and I was like, this isn't anything. If the first Annabelle just wasn't as bad as what it was, I would say it's the worst. But I think the first Annabelle film is just bad. 2 out of 10.
It's just Rosemary's Baby. I think that's my thing that I'm not crazy about. Like I wish there was just a little more to it, with the story. But like
It's so
the
boring.
scares land though in that first Annabelle. That's the one thing I give it a lot of credit for. Like it really is fucking scary when the wife character or whatever goes downstairs into the fucking basement. Like that's fucking scary, man. With the demon following her up the elevator and shit.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer today for Chucky season 3?
I did.
I'm very excited for season 3 of Chucky, especially because they give me Devon Sawa.
Yeah, I mean Devin Sawa was going to be in it again, which is cool. Um, I'm just not crazy about the show. I wish I was. I can't get into it.
I've
But
seen your reviews, and so I understand where you're coming from with it. It just for me, it speaks to me a lot. I think I'm a lot closer to these characters in my life, maybe that makes me like them a lot, and they're unique. Chucky is funny, campy, the meta-ness keeps everything I like throughout the franchise, and I think it as a whole it honors the Chucky franchise as a whole, and that's why I like it so much. It takes the good, the bad, everything, and puts it into one. Though I will say, season two, the final episode is very bad.
yeah, I watched like season 1 was watchable. You know, and I was like I loved all the backstory they gave to Chucky and Tiffany and like kind of tying that into the events of the first film. I was like, oh, this is okay. This is really cool. I might not have been crazy about like the main narrative, but all of the background stuff, I'm like, oh, this is really well done. Nice. But season 2 just completely loses that, in my opinion. Like it just kind of does its own thing. I just it turns into a bit of nonsense in my opinion. It's just too goofy. You know, it's too seeded Chucky, and I just need a little bit of Child's Play 1 or 2 in there, which I at least felt a sense of that in that first season. But I just feel like that got lost in translation with season 2.
It definitely did, but I think I was just so invested at the time that I was like, yes. And like I was watching it weekly, and it feels like season 3 is going back to more normal Chucky, which is what makes me excited. I don't know if they're bringing back the 3 original kids, but because by the trailer it didn't feel like it. But it seems like they're doing a normal Child's Play story, but in the White House.
I'm excited to see it. It's like it's so ridiculous. It's like what, Chucky's the president now? Like, oh my god, like what's going on? Holy shit. I'm excited for him to go to space in season 4, you know? Like
I mean, that's what we'll get if we get 10 seasons of the Friday the 13th show.
Yeah, yeah. I'm nervous about that show as well, man. I hope it's good, but I feel like it's just gonna be about Pamela Voorhees like running around Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, I'm worried. I wish they would just give Elm Street the love it deserves and give me a new Elm Street.
Seriously though, or just a big budget Friday the 13th movie. Like that's all we want, man. I just want Jason killing people at a at a camp, you know? I just want to see that one more time.
I would really like that. Like, just don't need to have a serious plot. It doesn't need to be a perfect film. Just give me just a lot of stuff. Elm Street, I'll be a little bit more picky on, but Friday, I'm not very picky. I think if my favorite one's the remake, then there's something like for everyone.
But the remakes, I love the remake. I feel like it captures the spirit of like those original movies so well, even in the characters. And some people hate the characters, I get it, but like that's Friday, man. That's Friday the 13th. Terrible teenager characters who get killed by a guy in a hockey mask. You know, I feel like that's kind of the vibe that they need to capture with this series, and that's going to be tough.
It's like they took the characters of 4, 5, and 6 and put them in with the characters of the Jason of 1 through 3.
Yes, 100%. It feels like the best of both worlds in a lot of ways with that. And I don't know. I love that remake. I think it's so much fun from start to finish.
It's my favorite. I love it. It's the Friday movie I always go to. But Elm Street, I think it's just they have to do something with it or it's going to just never happen.
Yeah, man. I like that. I can't believe that remake basically killed that franchise. It's such a shame.
And yeah, the remake is very bad. But I wish they would just do. I know that Robert Englund won't come back, but there's so many actors that would be great. I've heard you say Glenn Howerton. I think Sean William Scott would do really good.
Oh, he would. Yeah, he would. Yeah, he would. He would be great.
I think after seeing him in Becky 2, The Wrath of Becky, he just won me over.
Oh shit! I didn't see that came out earlier this year, right? I think I missed that one.
It's a great film. It's phenomenal. If you like the first Becky, you'll like this one.
Yeah, the first one kicked ass, man. I was like, what? It kind of blew me away. I was expecting nothing from it, and it was actually something pretty fun.
Yeah, and at the end of the second one, my literal first thought was he could be Freddy Krueger.
Ooh,
at the end.
Okay.
Because I was like, he can get the jokes down. He can get the like. I've seen him since American Pie. I know he could be Freddy.
I feel it, man. I just got done with Always Sunny season 16. And it's just more reasons why I feel like Glenn Howerton's just still my first choice. There's this episode where it's called Dennis Takes a Mental Health Day. And I highly recommend watching that episode, man. Like, it's just,
I'll definitely have to check it out.
he's just so crazy. Like, I would just love to see that energy translated into Freddy Krueger somehow. Like, that would just be so, it would be different, but not different to the point where it's like, this is just an entirely different character. You know, it's like, I feel like
Exactly.
that energy could work with Freddy Krueger really well.
And they need something.
They need something. They need to do something with the franchise. I mean, with how big a lot of like John Carpenter and Wes Craven properties are, like, still today, it's like, why are they not moving forward with anything in that regard? It's kind of crazy.
Exactly. I need a new sequel to They Live. I need
Ooh, that would be awesome.
taking on modern politics. Only if John Carpenter would do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many films I would love to see sequels to, or like that they've done Shocker for Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Shocker's a wild ride.
Yes, it is. It's a weird one, but another one where maybe it deserves a second look, you know?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I saw it in theaters, actually.
Oh, no way.
There's a theater near where I live that they show a bunch of old classic horror films. So I was able to see Psycho there, Psycho 2. I was able to see Shocker, They Live.
Oh my God. I would do anything to see They Live in theaters. That's awesome, man.
And it's like the best because it's like a lounge, but for a movie theater. So there's like couches you're sitting in and everything and just talking
Nice.
with people. It's great. I love it. And they're always old horror movies.
Dude, that's sick, man. That scene where I can't even remember the main guy's name, but they're just fighting for like 15 minutes straight, and it's just it's so ridiculous.
Bizarre.
But it's great. But but it's so good. It's like, oh, it kind of makes it memorable for that reason.
It's so quotable too. Like I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and we're all out of bubblegum.
Right.
I
Oh my
loved
God.
it. The character is great. They have a Funko Pop of him, and I want it so bad.
I have the alien somewhere back here. I can't. I think it's. Oh yeah, it's like literally right there. Little blue aliens. Love them, man.
That's fair. Yeah, I only have the Jason Funko right now.
Oh, oh, nice. That's hard to
I'm s-
find.
Yes, it's the zombie Jason from 6.
Oh shit. Oh, nice, man.
And I did find it in a cabin in the woods, so I do like it a lot for that reason.
Oh, you can't get rid of it ever now. Oh my God, that's sick.
Yes, I found it in a cabin in the woods. Like I love my Jason merch. As you can tell, I have a lot of horror merch from
Hell
my
yeah, dude.
posters around me.
I love the posters, man. You got the is that Ghostface right there with the moon and all
It-
that? That
It's a Ghostface tarot card.
oh, nice, man.
And then I have Friday the 13th, Frankenstein, Child's Play 2 behind me. I
Night of
have
the Living
Night,
Dead.
and then on the other side, I have my Barbarian and Texas Chainsaw posters that are signed by Richard Brake and Mark Burnham.
Oh my God. Oh, sick, man. Fuck.
And then I have Matthew Lillard somewhere because I have
You
like
have
a whole
to.
I have a whole area for Matthew Lillard because he's my favorite actor.
The shrine to him.
Yeah, my friends call it that because it has my Ghostface mask, all the different stuff I have from Scream, Scooby Doo, all his stuff.
Nice,
And-
man.
Five Nights at Freddy's soon.
Yes, coming back in a horror movie finally. You know, he's been on a lot of TV shows and shit lately, but I think it's gonna be so nice to just see him in like a big like blockbuster horror movie like this.
Exactly, and they said they got him because of Stu, his performance as Stu, and they're saying that he can really ham it up like he did in Scream. So it's making me even more excited if we're getting to see that.
And you know, there's a lot of folks, which you know, I don't have to tell you this, but there's a lot of folks who want to see him back in the Scream franchise. I'm just excited to see him in Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, even if the movie sucks, I'm just excited to see him playing William Afton. Like, that's
Yes.
fucking awesome, man.
I mean, I think Scream. I think the time has passed. If the time was to come, it was Scream 6, and I think Scream 6 has passed, and I can't see him. They pretty much made him dead in Scream 6, so it would. But at Five Nights at Freddy's, it's given me exactly what I want in a silly, hopefully 3-hour long movie. I hope it's 3 hours long.
Apparently it is, which is wild.
Yeah.
A lot of lore to cover, I guess, in that franchise. So we'll see how they do it, man. We'll see how they do it. Jacob, is there anything you want to shout out real quick before we wrap up this podcast?
I would love to shout out my Instagram. It's Jacob Browning 56. If you guys want to follow, I'm going to be starting to post a lot more horror content in the upcoming time until I start my YouTube channel.
Hell yeah, man.
And my YouTube channel will be starting in January.
Ooh. Oh, shit, man. Okay. Got to send me the link when you do that.
Yes, sir. I will.
Very nice, man.
Yep.
Good stuff. As always, Jacob, it is a blast talking with you, just about Pumpkinhead and a bunch of other crazy horror projects coming up.
I love talking about horror. If you ever want to have me back, I'd be glad. Thank you for letting me be here today and talk about some horror.
Of course, man. Absolutely, dude. Good shit. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the KillJoy Jake podcast. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.